10 by 10, and I have them lined up edge to edge so that they're all the same, okay? So I'm gonna put plaster on them and then a little bit of color, and I want them all to be really close to the same. So this is why they're all lined up like this. So I am going to use, I was thinking about using this smaller plaster knife or palette knife, but I think since we need to do all three at once, oh yeah, Lynette, go turn it inside out right now. Go save your plaster. But I think instead, so it goes a little faster, I'm gonna use this larger palette knife. I get this at Hobby Lobby. It's like regular price, $8, but I always buy them half price. And I have so many. I have so many of these things. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. I'm gonna kind of push this over. I think I am. There's something under here, glass. I'm gonna push this over. Actually, I'm gonna stack. I'm gonna stack, we'll do one, move, do one, then we'll line them up to do our color so that we ensure that they're all the same. So I'm gonna just go into my Venetian plaster. Don't forget, Lowe's Venetian plaster is what I'm using. Yeah, they only sell it by the gallon and it's like $50 for the gallon, but it lasts forever. It does a lot of art. So I just load my palette knife and I am going to just spread. And even if I have a few little skippy spots, I don't even mind, okay? I'm not trying to be 100% perfect. No art is perfect. No, nothing in nature is perfect. We're not perfect, so don't expect your art to be. Okay, so that went pretty fast. So I've got this one completely covered. I'm glad it went fast because I don't want my plaster to dry before we start adding our color. So I'm gonna do this one. This is number 2. I'm hot. It's kind of hot in here. So I'm just getting my plaster on. I was gonna just pre-plaster all of these and then come in and do the finished octopus, but I really thought you guys might want to see this process too, because when this dries, I'm going to show you tomorrow how beautiful it is, because this plaster, because I'm putting it on thicker than like a Venetian plaster application, this plaster is going to crackle on this canvas and make a really cool finished look. Okay, let me move this one. We have one more. Just put it right there. And then we'll line them up. Hey, Sheila. We'll line them up and add our color. So, did everybody get my message that I was going live today at 6 o'clock? Yes? Or are you just surprised to be here? So, hang on. So, you see that I'm just going in all directions. I'm going pretty fast. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not worrying about covering every little square inch. If I have a little skippy spots, I'm not worrying about it too much. I'm not worrying about the texture being similar or anything like that. Mostly just trying to make sure it's not hanging over the edge. So we're done with that, okay? So you can see kind of close up how it's really not perfect at all. It's just a nice texture. So I'm gonna put my plaster away. You're gonna have to give me 2 seconds to get my plastic back in because I don't want my stuff to dry out. So give me just a minute. Ugh. Okay, so now I'm going to use my smaller palette knife and I'm gonna line these suckers back up because I really want the color to be, what am I doing? I want the color to match. Okay, so all 3 pieces lined up really nice. So this is the fun part. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Waterfall Cascade by Sir Delta. Okay, and I am just going to squirt some of it on my palette. You know, you're not gonna be able to see my palette because the canvases are taking up the entire screen, but that's okay, I'll show you as I go. So all I'm doing is adding a little bit of this blue to my palette, as well as a little bit of Anita's white, just white acrylic paint. And this is a dirty palette. I like to use them until they're unusable, but here's my white and here's my blue. So I'm just gonna take some blue on the back of my palette knife, and I am going to about, I don't know, the bottom 2/3, I'm just gonna make a line, okay? Make a line of blue. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. Let's just make a line. And same for this one. And maybe a little out of vision on this one. And that's okay too. Just bring it down a little. On this one, oops, I need a little more. Okay. Now, where's my towel? Ugh. Okay, so I have this line going across all 3 of my pieces. I'm gonna clean off my palette knife a little bit, and I'm gonna get into some of that white. Okay, just load the back side of your palette knife with that white. And I'm gonna come above and just add in a little bit of white on the top side. And we're gonna manipulate this a little bit too. So I'm just kind of getting started. Sweating so bad. Oh, I just dug my fingernail in too. Hang on. I dug my fingernail right into that plaster. So I'm cleaning off my palette knife as well. Let me clean that up. So I'm gonna get more white. I'm gonna go below. Now I don't know if you can tell, but I am also kind of going into the blue a little. So we'll go white again. White again. Now I'm gonna just fuss with it, okay? So I'm gonna take my dirty palette knife, and I am literally just gonna go horizontally and blend these colors out a little. Yeah. So I'm adding a little bit of blue into the uncolored areas just by hitting my palette knife inside that blue and just bring it up a little. And then I'm gonna move this one over a little bit. I'm gonna clean that edge up too. This is what happens when you have them edge to edge. Just clean that up a little. Now I don't wanna get this too far away because I still wanna see what I have. So I'm just do the same thing. I'm just gonna pull, and don't take too much time doing this because your plaster is gonna start to dry up, guys. Okay, it's gonna start to dry on the top, and then I don't know if you can see right here, but it's gonna start to pull and kind of make a funny texture. So don't take too long doing this. Practice maybe, I just did it again. Practice maybe one at a time. So they're still nice and coordinated. I'm gonna get a little bit of white to come up here because that's a little dry. So we'll clean that up a little. So they still look like they belong together. Clean that up. Move that over. Let's see if we can get this one inside the screen. Yes, you can see. And we're gonna do it again. I'm just gonna run through my blue. And you can just, you know, you don't have to use these colors. You can use a teal. You can use more blue, less blue. Blend it out however. I just got a little crazy there. However, just keep futzing with it until you like it. That's what I like to say. All right. So then you bring some of this blue up, clean up that edge. It's kind of messy when you're working fast. When you have to work fast like this, it can get a little messy. Just clean those up before it dries. Now let me stand up. Is it freezing? I don't know why. I want to stand up now and kind of look down on all three of the canvases and make sure that they all kind of coordinate together. And they do. None of them are exactamundo, but they're all very similar. Now, which is exactly the same background as what we did before. And as per usual, look what I did, because this also took me several hours to create. So I'm just gonna set him in front of me, and then I'm going to explain to you how I got these pieces, okay? So this is actually, for his body, the same thing. It's just a piece of vase, okay? You can see that it's rounded. It's kind of, it's not a flat piece of glass. So I took that same bit of a vase, and just in the rounded body, I used my wheeled nippers, okay? And literally, you can see how it's kind of jagged all around the edges. I took my wheeled nippers and I just clipped all the way around until I got kind of an oval piece where it's kind of a crab body shape. Connie, these are all 10 by 10s. So I nipped and nipped and nipped. You could use flat sheet glass if you like, but I like the dimension you get with the piece of curved vase. And look how thick this is. This is so thick, I was scared to death the whole time that I was going to break my nippers, but I didn't, so it's all good. Now for all his little crab legs, I did the same thing. I just took remnants of the vase and I kind of pulled up a picture of a crab. Yes, it does, Michelle. I pulled up a picture of a crab and I just mimicked the little crab pieces, okay? The little legs. And you can see this piece here, I did not even try to make them perfect, okay? This is just kind of a funny shape. So, you know, I just let it be. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say is don't micromanage every single little piece, okay? So these are just some triangular shapes that I cut out of my vase just using my wheeled nippers, the only tool I used for my crab, okay? So you want, take a look at a crab, because what you want are those two front claws. You want to have, I may have to adjust these. You want those to have two big pieces, two knuckles, I guess is what you would call them, and then the little pinchers. So the little pinchers, I cut just tiny little nips out of a piece of glass. Can you see that? It's just that tiny little itsy bitsy little little nibs of glass. So we got those on both sides. I got fat fingers, so it's hard for me to kind of get them where they need to be. Hang on. Okay, so basically I'm gonna go around his body. I like to normally start with his little bottom legs, fragments. Thank you, I can't talk. I like to start with right around his booty, because then that helps me negotiate where every other piece is gonna go. So on his bottom, we have two small little pieces, And they kind of, if you look at a picture of a crab, they kind of bend in towards his little booty butt. So we're gonna bend those in right here. And then we have the next little fragment, and I'm trying to keep them fairly close together. And we're gonna bend those backwards towards his little booty too. So we'll do that. And then that. And then the next piece is gonna start going up, point towards his head. And there's a little piece for that too. And so on and so forth. And then these last pieces are bigger, okay? So obviously I need to bring this around. The last pieces are a little bit bigger. The further you go towards his rear end, the smaller his legs get. So these are going to be a little bit bigger, little claws. I need to move this. This isn't in the right place. And then a little bit bigger here. And now we know where to place our front claws, okay? So we'll make sure they're spaced appropriately. And then we can bring in his little second knuckle. His little second knuckle here. And then his little pinchers. That'll get you every time. All right, so that's basically it. Now the only thing I really ever glue are these little baby pieces because they're so tiny and they want to wiggle around. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take my glue. Ew, what is that? No likey. Hang on. I'm gonna take my glue and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 is what I have. I've seen it different, but I usually stick to the 10, 5 on each side. So I just added a tiny bit of glue to hold my little pinchers upright so they don't fall over. Everything else will pretty much, everything else will pretty much stay where it belongs. See his little pincher? Then we'll put this little pincher here. And this little pincher here. Now, let's hope they stay where they belong and don't make a mess. Okay, so now we're going to glue. We're gonna glue his little eyes. I don't know if you know, but crabs have like little stick eyes. I'm looking for my little black beads. I threw them back in here, and now I'm crazy because I should have kept them. This one might work. Give me 1 second, guys. These aren't black, but these will work. So what they have on it are like these two things that stick out of their head, like this, like so. And then their little eyeballs are on the tip of that. So is Richard being silly? So I'm gonna glue those down too, so hang on. Glue boogers. It was a glue booger, Richard. It's kind of gross. So I am going to put down his little eyeball holder. I don't know why they have eyes like that, but they stick out of their head because I already did the octopus. You're late, sister. Okay, so now I have 2 tiny little beads that I'm going to use for his eyeballs. I'm just going to put them right on the end of those little sticks that I made with my nippers. And now he has little crab eyeballs. Yay! Okay. Well, my jellyfish is still wet because I just actually stuck my hand in it. His little tentacles are still wet, so we're gonna have to do that next time, but we're gonna finish up our crab, and then we will do our resin on both of these things. So before our resin, I want to add a little extra something to our little crab. So I'm going to use clear classic glass, and I'm going to add a little bit of glass just along the edge or along the bottom edge of our canvas. And then I'm just gonna have some shells that I brought. And I'm just going to also, since he's kind of crawling on the seabed, I'm gonna also add a few shells. This one's super cool. It's like a piece of an oyster shell, I think. Hey, Susie. So we're gonna add these little pieces of shell in, and then we will resin. Let's add big old shell over here. And there's another piece of oyster, another shell. Oops, dropped it in my lap. And I have a few little random pieces of broken shell. I'm just going to add a few here and there, just so it actually maybe would look like the bottom of the sea. We shall see. We shall see. Can you tell I'm in vacation mode? I'm doing all things beachy because I'm going to the beach. So, are we ready? Is this not the cutest thing ever? I am going to set our jellyfish aside because he's not happening. I just got jellyfish smeared all over my iPad. I'm gonna scoot Mr. Crab over just a smidge, and then we're gonna bring back I don't know. So aren't these cute? Love them. Looking through the camera at my octopus, I keep feeling like maybe I should add something else to him, but I am going to ignore that feeling because I think he's super cute the way he is, and I am going to just pretend my head's not in it. So the crab, do we need the crab to have bubbles? I don't think the crab needs bubbles. Maybe? Let's try. Let's see. How about that? Is that good? I love bubbles. You know I love bubbles. 2 of them went under his head, so I'm going to see if I can get them out. Let's see. Well, I got to pick him up to resin him anyway, so. Okay, so I'm going to scoot Mr. Crab over, and we're going to focus on our octopus. I am going to mix up some resin, and I'm going to go ahead and, bubbles are always good, you're correct. I'm going to mix up 8 ounces because I don't think I need that much, but I also have more fish that I can resin. 4 ounces, that's probably excessive, but we're mixing it anyway. And I will let you know, crabs blow bubbles too, right? I will let you know after I do the octopus how much resin it took for him. So you will know a 10 by 10, and then we will do the same for our crab. Make sure you don't have something in the way. And we're gonna put our crab here, and we are gonna work on him, and then we'll torch them both at the same time, okay? This is gonna take a little longer, so I don't want my resin to get hard before we're ready. So I'm gonna start down below and cover. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. Let me tell you how much it took for the octopus. It took a little over 2 ounces. So we're gonna have way too much resin. So it took a little over 2 ounces for the octopus. And it's probably gonna take about the same for this one. And I'm gonna have to sit here and resin 16 more things. Oh, that's all right. Maybe the jellyfish will be dry. And anybody who is absolutely bored can hang around, and we can do that too. How about that? Let me tuck that in. I try to keep things a little bit away from the edge of my canvas so that I don't have a lot of excess dripping down the bottom. So just push it up a little. Isn't he cute? Mr. Crab. I love making the crabs, but they are tedious and time consuming cutting all those little legs and stuff. Bored. Yeah, it can be very tedious cutting those pieces. Oops, get back where you belong. Is everybody still in quarantine? Holy moly, man. I know that New York and California are. Are y'all getting any relief at all? Nothing? Everybody still in quarantine? Oh, Janie, you're so sweet. So let's micromanage that little bit at the end. Okay, whoops. Dagnabbit. See, I said I didn't glue it because it didn't need it, and now it won't be still. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, it's because my hands are sticky, is I am gonna take his body off, okay? I'm gonna take his body off. I'm gonna resin this whole thing, and then I'm gonna put his body back, because what I don't want is having a blank space under here. So we're gonna put resin on there, then we'll resin both sides of this and stick it back. We ignore our, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's just a disaster. I do not make a very good quarantine person. I'll tell you that right now. Do not. Girl, I'm not, here's the deal, Elizabeth. I'm not going anywhere except on the beach, and I'm not wearing a mask on the beach. Ain't nobody getting near me unless they want to get a knuckle sandwich, and that is my goal for the entire week, is not to move. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going out in public. That's the plan. And it's too hot for a mask. So that's why I'm not going anywhere. Oops, I see some debris. We're gonna pick that up. Ooh, Richard. Richard said, Girl, I'm in menopause. You can't like tell a woman in menopause she has to wear a mask 24/7 in the hot sun. I'll just stay in the air conditioning. I'll just stay here. So right now I'm just going around my crab piece, and I'm covering all his little segments, all his little feetsies, and all his little knuckles and stuff. And then we'll cover that in the center really well. Yeah, I think that, is anybody here from New York? Did I miss it? Did I miss anybody from New York? Yeah, that would make a funny tan line. I'm not about that life. I'm just gonna sit on the beach and dare anybody to come near me. Covering. New York in the house? I have a friend in New York, and they're just like, they can't go anywhere. They're still in complete lockdown, which I'm just not even going to comment about that. Get off there. I got a bubble on my stick. I got bubbles to flip. So I'm going to add a little bit around my edges. I'm gonna add a fairly generous amount in the center. And then I'm just gonna use my fingers and smear it around, especially where I'm gonna put his body back in place. I want to make sure it has a nice bed of resin. So I'm just using my fingers to spread that around. And if our little crab legs move, we'll just fix them back. We're not gonna worry about it too much. So I have way too much resin. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and spread it out along here. Just use my hands. Make sure you're gloved. You do not want to do this with your bare hands. Do not do it. It's a sticky mess. Sticky. I don't like sticky. So, almost done. Just spreading it around in my flat spots where there's no glass. I need a little extra. So now what I'm going to do is take my little crab body. Okay, he goes like this. So I'm going to flip him upside down, and I am going to dump some resin right inside his shell, like it's a bowl. And then I'm going to just smear that resin around, all around the edges. Whoops. I gotta go faster if we're gonna do the jellyfish. And now I'm gonna just place him back where he goes, hopefully. Yes. Now I can make any adjustments that I need to make to any of the legs. Everything kind of looks okay. Looks like it might be still, oops. Scooch over, scooch over. Looks like it all might still be where it needs to be. Yes, yes, yes. Scoochie over. All right. So I think we're golden. But what I do need to do is add some to the top of his shell. So I'm just gonna add a couple spoonfuls, and then I'm gonna smear it around, and then I'm just going to let it run and do its thing. And I'm gonna take these gloves off, and we're gonna torch this real quick before our resin gets too icky. And then we're gonna work on our crab. If you need to go, go. That's cool too. I'm gonna take these off. Eek, ah, ah, ah. Is he not adorable? I'm gonna hold him up close to you. Hold him up close. Look how cute. Is he the cutest thing ever? Yes, and I have a run. I just saw somebody say wipe with a wet wipe, but I have a run on this side, so I'm gonna take my wet wipes, and I don't like resin on the sides of my canvas, so I'm just gonna wipe it off, okay? Just gonna wipe off that resin on the side. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna hit this with a torch real quick. I use a propane torch. You do not have to use a propane torch. If you're uncomfortable with this, you can use a creme brulee kitchen torch, which is much smaller, or you can use a heat gun, works well. You can use a blow dryer. That doesn't work quite as well, but it will pop a few of the bubbles. I found it was like a little something in there. But what you want to do is make sure that you are just keeping your hand moving at all times. And it just takes a quick once over and not letting your flame touch your art piece. So I'm going to set this down. We're going to move him. I'm going to move him to my other table.